Welcome to Kerusi Panas, Sabah. You're here with Bridget Welsh, and this is Episode 5, The East Coast Battles. I'm staying on the East Coast because this zone, from Lahad Datu all the way to Kalabakan, is so intense politically. So many of the seats are really hot political battles between Warisan and the political coalitions of UMNO, GRS, the National, and in some places, even Pakatan Harapan. It is an intensive, hot zone. I want to begin, however, with the year 1963. When everyone thinks about the year 1963, they think about the MA 63 agreement, the Malaysia agreement in which Sabah helped form Malaysia. But I want to use the year 1963 in a slightly different way in this focus on East Coast, because it is here where you have important battles that took place. The Battle of Tawau, the battles involving Kalabakan, between Indonesia and Malaysia, involving the Konfrontasi period. This was an intensive battle, lasted 2 months. It was part of a conflict that lasted almost 2 years. In this battle, 8 soldiers from Malaysia in the Royal Malay Regiment died, and there is a memorial to honor their memory. This part of Malaysian history is often overlooked, but it is a critical component of helping to shape and define this part of Sabah and part of Malaysia. Today, the Indonesia-Malaysia relationship is much more cordial. It's based on strong economic and social demographic ties. But the reality is that the Philippines and Indonesia helped to shape the dynamics along the East Coast through migration patterns, through security issues, and equally important, the economic ties. Few appreciate how intensive the battle between Indonesia and Malaysia was in Borneo. It started in Sarawak and the Tepudu incident and extended into Tawau and Kalabakan. And it is this close relationship with Indonesia and neighboring Philippines that has helped to shape and transform politics of this region over decades. There's 3 features that I'd like to highlight looking at these East Coast battles. The first of which is that this is the political frontier for Warisan. When anyone talks about Warisan, they talk about them controlling the East Coast. But when you look closely at the different seats, one sees the more complicated story, tense competition that Warisan has, in particular with Barisan Nasional UMNO in this part of Sabah. And we'll see how much Warisan is able to maintain the seats that they have on the East Coast and maintain their battleground. Their core base is Sampurna, but it's these frontier seats nearby, places like Kunak, Silam, Sabah, that I think are going to be very interesting to watch to see the strength of Warisan. Second feature that I think is important to talk about is the role of different ethnic communities. We've talked a lot about Sabah's ethnic diversity, but it's important to appreciate that certain communities really shape the dynamics of politics, especially in particular seats. The Bugis community make up 7% of Sabah voters, but they're very important in a lot of these key seats in Kalabakan and Tawau. In fact, over 20 seats make up a small share of the voters across Sabah and have an important influence in terms of shaping contests and close races. But we even have other smaller communities like the Idahan community in places like Tunggu and Silam that are very important. They have a unique cultural ethnic identity. The questions of inclusion of these smaller groups and the representation of the communities through this election is always played out at the very local level. It also plays a role in terms of the strategies that parties use and also how voters connect with the different candidates on the ground. It's important to appreciate that within the Muslim vote, that there are so many different ethnic communities, the Kadayan, the Irahan, the Irano, the Bugis, the Bajar, the Tidung, and Kokos, among others. This is a very diverse community that may be united in faith, but in fact have very different senses of who they are within the faith. A third important feature of these East Coast battles is the internal role of party divisions. When a party is divided over who should become the candidate, who should control the party machinery, this really has an impact. Looking at Malaysian politics, party divisions have impacted the fortunes, particularly of UMNO, over time, and there's been a lot of scholarship on this. But what we're seeing in Sabah is that there are party divisions in many of the different political parties, be it Warisan, within GRS, between Perikatan Nasional PASA and Bersatu, also still some divisions within UMNO, although I would suggest, despite the perception that there are many different leaders of UMNO in Sabah, that on the ground there's a lot more cohesion than there might be given the real challenges that the party has faced in the past. There's much more unity. Party divisions make a difference in political fortunes, especially because they surround the issues of who the candidate is. Party divisions in particular have been fueled this election by the deal-making that took place at the elite level, leaving people the sense that individuals have been discarded and they no longer have the access to contest. This has created a lot of local tensions. And I'm going to pull these out in the hot seats that we focus on. There are 5. The first of which is Kukusan. Kukusan is a Kalabakan. When you go there, you see the beautiful hill, many villages, the important military camp, which adds to the diversity of this constituency. It's an interesting battle because it was the second closest contest in 2020, right after Brunei. Warisan is fielding Maimun Sulaiman, who was the MP for Kalabakan from 2018 to 2022. GRS is fielding a candidate from Harapan. Harapan is a locally based party led by former Brigadier General Tan Sri Liu Yunhua. His candidate is Haja Samsia Usman. It will be a test for this party because there was a lot of discontent among GRS that this candidate was placed there and the party is seen as comparatively weak. He himself is very well beloved in Tawau, but also known for his service and assistance to the communities. This is a critical component within GRS, but it is weaker compared to others such as PBS. We also see Barisan Nasional contesting here. They came very close to winning this seat back in 2020. The same candidate is contesting Chaya Sulaiman, who incidentally is the sister of the Warisan candidate. Family dynamics matter a lot in Sabah. Chaya is a leader in the Wanita UMNO, and I think she was going to be a big force, having worked the ground in the seat. Kukusan taps into businesses, the economic conditions in Tawau. The grouse is about cost of living, and the area is about economic vibrancy. Tawau, like Sandakan, has wrestled with less economic development than is needed for the vibrancy of this region. Its close proximity to Indonesia makes it a very vibrant trading economy that has been a center, along with Lahad Datu and other parts of the palm oil industry. But it is also a place that is not getting enough attention in terms of building the economic ecosystem to facilitate the expansion and diversification of the Tawau economy. It's going to be interesting to see how we see this combination of ethnic diversity, combination of different economic classes come to play in a place like Kukusan in a very hot political contest. Not too far away, around half an hour or so, we start to get into the seat of Merotai. Merotai is the seat that PKR, Anwar Ibrahim's party, is focusing heavily. He's visited many times to support the candidacy of Ruji Ubi, who is seen as a potential PKR CM candidate. Merotai is a Bugis seat, 35% Bugis, and Warisan's incumbent, Sarafuddin Hatta, is also the prominent Bugis leader. He's also seen to be a grassroots politician, and he's contesting against Ruji, who's of mixed heritage, including Javanese. As the campaign began, what we saw in a place like Pirer, Warisan having the advantage, and now we see PKR with the wealth of government resources and support and ministerial visits, that PKR has gained traction. I had the opportunity to see Ruji in the field giving a speech, and he is a very dynamic technocrat that I think is very interesting to watch. He may have a tough fight, but what he's doing is working very hard on the ground to bring a different type of leadership at the local level. Merotai is a fascinating place. Again, like Kukusan, you have strong entrepreneurial businesses. You also have Felda areas. You have different types of patterns of settlement. It makes for fascinating seats to see among the Muslim communities how this will pan out in terms of shaping the results. Further north is the seat of Kunak. Kunak is on literally the geographic border of Semporna. It is an example, along with Silam, part of Warisan's political frontier. Kunak has been won by Warisan, and then that person left to join GRS. GRS is fielding Noor Azlina Harris. She jumped from Warisan to GRS. It's interesting to see how the jumping factor has undercut support and whether or not the resources of being part of the state government will still allow her to have a chance in this contest. She is running against UMNO's candidate, a man called Anil Sadhu, who is a Sikh heritage who converted to Islam. He is a businessman, again, builds on the strong machinery that UMNO has here. Warisan is fielding Jasa Ismail Radau, who was the state assemblyman from 1999 to 2008 in this constituency. This is a pattern that is happening in Warisan, is that they're bringing back candidates of the past. What we see is Calon Terbalik, or the returning Calon. And we can see this in quite a few constituencies, not only in Kukusan, but also here in Kunak. It's a question of whether or not they'll be able to get over that finish line and undercut Warisan's political frontier. Despite GRS holding the seat, I think is largely a battle between UMNO and Warisan. Moving further north to Silam, we see a similar battle, but it's this seat that I want to pull out, that third theme I talked about, the weakening of parties because of internal divisions. GRS has been divided over who to contest, and their lobbying we saw before the election was very intense. They've decided on a woman who represented the division of Segama has been moved to Silam. Her name is Misma Abendullah, but this has impacted the machinery. Similarly, Warisan has also been divided between Yusuf Abdal and Haji Dumi Hamasdal, and this has weakened the chances and put the focus on internal battles as opposed to engaging the electorate. Ultimately, Warisan decided to drop the incumbent, Haji Dumi, for the brother of Shafi Abdal. The candidate is Yusuf Abdal, who is the deputy minister for the federal government. UMNO is more unified, even though they had the same advantage of resources as GRS and Warisan have. Their candidate is a man called Sharaf Musaf Sharaf Mabul. Again, this is a seat that showcases how political dynamics within political parties can impact, especially when the challenge factor becomes so important in determining the outcome. We'll see how this seat evolves. It's an open seat where all of the major political parties have a chance, particularly UMNO, Warisan, and GRS. Further north in the city of Lahad Datu is the seat of Segama. Segama is a seat that has been impacted by the dealmaking. It was heavily fought over by PKR, by BN, and GRS. Essentially, what has happened is that the seat has been won by PKR. PKR candidate is Roman Salamin, who was able to secure the seat after a lot of internal party negotiations. The Warisan candidate is looking to be Muhammad Abdul Karim. Mohammedan Katapi, known for his hopping from political parties and sometimes very interesting remarks, is contesting as an independent. He comes from a very large family in the area. He is still a very strong force in this seat. It will be a very intense contest between parties and candidate loyalties and families. SAPP is contesting in this seat a young, dynamic researcher, Yvonne Wong, the daughter of Wong Tek Lee. She has her own credentials in her own right, for a very interesting dynamic of this role of the Chinese community in the seat of Segama and her potential appeal, whether or not she can also cross into multi-ethnic appeal. So what we see is an intensive battle between PKR, SAPP, and Independent, and Warisan. And in a sense, almost those divisions that I spoke about, where Tapi was originally a Warisan that moved, and a Warisan candidate now coming in. Segama also showcases the impact of the alliances and the deals that are taking place and whether or not this really undercuts parties. The question of supporting the party or supporting the candidate really comes into play in these seats like Silam and Segama. They also showcase Warisan's political frontier. There are other seats in this East Coast that I think are very important to watch. Tunku, Balong, and Tawau, Sabati. These seats are also very open and competitive seats that I think will also shape what's going to happen with the overall numbers and results. East Coast, as a region, has often been labeled for questions of security, questions associated with immigration issues. It's been given a bad rap. I think that is a very unfair one. I want to give being on the ground an acknowledgement to the Malaysian authorities that have really addressed the security issues here in a significant way. Many of the travel advisories here, I think, can be really rethought. There's so much beauty in nature and tourism potential. There's a lot to see, not only from a perspective of the physical things of the beaches and the forest, but also to engage with the diversity of the communities that have very rich heritage in parts of the East Coast. Politically, as we look ahead, these seats will essentially become a political battleground, determining which of the parties will have the most number of seats, especially Warisan holding on to their incumbent seats in the East Coast battle will determine how much power it has at the negotiating table. Equally important will be the political future for UMNO in Sabah, as this region is an important base for them. GRS comparatively also reshaping itself with including different parties. It's weaker with the exception of seats like Apas, where they have Nizam, Abu Bakar, Tidanang there. But I think Nizam is an exception. Many of the other GR candidates are facing bigger battles. But it is still one where the incumbent resources of the state are battling against the power of incumbency, the power of old machinery, the importance of the local rooted candidates. in these different types of community, both with their ethnic representation and their importance of family dynamics in these areas. The East Coast battles, like those of its past, are likely to be quite fierce. They're important to watch. We'll continue these conversations here on Kerusi Panas Sabah as we move to another zone, looking at the diversity and the complexities of Sabah politics. Thanks as always for joining me here on Kerusi Panas Sabah.